So our next speaker is Shirley Rowell, our esteemed president. Shirley always says we are better together, but are we connecting with others? Why is going to Toastmasters Learning Institute helpful for you? Well, let's listen to what some of us took away from this experience and want to share with you. Let's welcome Shirley.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So I have to question, what are you connecting to? There is so much information and things in the world, but what are you connecting to? Connecting is a verb, it's an action word. So part of it is bringing us together, like in this club, getting together in a group, or maybe joining with your family or your pets, joining. Or maybe it's a link to power. We always understand that kind of connection with our cell phones, don't we? Well, what I want to talk to you about today is connecting to one another in our Toastmaster group. I recently have been reading a book by John C. Maxwell, and he is a famous motivational writer about leadership and communication to empower people. He says he is a motivational teacher, not a motivational speaker. What is the difference? A motivational speaker can make you feel good, but the next day, so what? A motivational teacher can actually teach you something, and the next day you feel good and you know what to do. So he gives an action plan, because all the information that you know is only information unless you put it into action. So he gave us this tool, and you can write this down with the word ACT as an acronym. Whatever you learn today, write it down and put an A by what you can apply to what you learned. Put a C if there is something in it that you can change. And put a T in it if it's something you can teach or share. And put that into action. Last weekend, I went to the Toastmasters Learning Institute, not because I had to, but because I like to learn. And this time I participated in doing a presentation. And it was not alone. I had two other people. It was about elevating and maintaining the distinguished Toastmaster status in the club. When it came to my part, they had PowerPoints, they had all these different things for us to know, all well and done. But what I learned is that when I came to the tips, I stopped and asked, is there any questions on this? And people started to participate. They said, I have a question. And it was something they didn't know. Actually, I didn't know it. But my team filled in the question. So I learned, they learned, and we participated. So this is one way we can connect with one another instead of just speaking. So tonight, I'm going to ask the three members that went to the TLI to share in 1 minute something that they learned and they took away that can help our club or you. So the first one I'm going to ask is Don Prue. Don Prue, can you share something with us tonight? And I'll hold up the dog in 1 minute.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. Did I learn something at TLI? Well, I actually did this time around. Jim Sims was with me once when we went to one of the TLIs, and the treasurer's function, I believe, lasted 2 minutes. So this time it lasted probably an hour. And I believe John or Jim Ellis was the person who conducted it, and he did quite a good job. And the one thing I learned is I am empowered. I have the power to veto. This entire club can decide to spend some of our club money on something that I don't think is proper. Not just the officers, the entire club can vote 21-1 with me being the lone one, and I can veto it. And it's to protect the tax status of Toastmasters International. So that's what I learned at last week's TLI. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Don, for sharing. So I'm glad you learned something and you brought it to our club. The next person I'd like to call on is Stephan Villavicencio. Would you like to share what you learned?
Sure, Shirley, thank you. I learned that hybrid meetings will be the future of Toastmasters Club, and that hybrid meetings is specifically referring to having meetings where people are physically present as well as people are there remotely using their computers. And you can also use mobilebeacon.com to get some inexpensive Wi-Fi. It costs $120 a year or $10 a month. And also you can do some Zoom functions for polling. So those are a few items about hybrid meetings that I thought were interesting. There's also some information about the district Distinguished Club program, and that was we've heard it from Shirley, and you'll hear a lot about it when you go to the leadership meeting. So definitely, I encourage you to go, especially if you haven't been there before, and learn as much as you can when you go. Back to you, Shirley.
I appreciate it. Yay. There's always something to learn, and even if you hear it 2 times. Okay. The last person I'd like to share with us is, will you like to share what you learned?
Absolutely. And because of the order, Stephan picked on the one lecture that I also went to that was of value, a special value, and that was the one about hybrid meetings. Now, this is the 3rd or 4th lecture I've seen on hybrid meetings. I've learned something from each of them. This one I learned again about Mobile Beacon, which they talked about. I had not heard about that before. But also I saw different structures that they were talking about in terms of using 3 cameras, 2 computers, and how they had it set up at the church. They also used a different speaker. They used the Anchor speaker from Anchor Company. And I've seen the Plantronics speaker being used. I've seen a Yeti being used. And so I've seen different clubs going in different directions, but they all have the same basic issues involved. You need a camera, you need a speaker, and you need more than one computer to allow you to orchestrate the production, to make everyone that's in the room, as well as the people that are online, feel that they're engaged, empowered, and part of the group.
Now, thank you to the members that share, because if you don't go, you're not going to learn. And the only way you can learn what we learned is for us to share. And sharing is really caring about one another. So I hope that we stretch our club this next year, stretch and learn more, do more, and we are better together. So I would like to challenge you to go out in the next 24 hours and share something that you learned from today in your life with someone else to make this a better world. Mr. Toastmaster.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. And Shirley, definitely it was an amazing speech. First of all, you started off with a question, which is like, what are you connecting to? Which itself is like engaged all of us. Like, what is she going to talk about? And it drew all of our attention to your speech actually. And then one of the main things that you asked me to evaluate yourself is about your eye contact towards the video, and you did wonderful. Like, yeah, I'm able to see clearly, and you did fantastic with your hand gestures from the very beginning, and with showing the props whenever it is appropriate, like your family photo or charger. Like, yeah, the word connecting is like a very broad word, so you applied to everything that is possible that we could think of. That is wonderful. And you slowly bring us to one of the core topics that you want to discuss today, which is about the TLI meeting. So you had a good transition between the initial part to your next part, where you brought about where you brought about John Maxwell and his act theory. Like, you provided all the details about that act to provide us like the importance of action after learning something. And also the best thing about your speech is you brought the listeners or the people who attended the TLI meeting about what they have learned from the meeting. So definitely it would have been better if you provided all the details, what you have learned, but it became awesome because you asked others to share their opinion also. That was really wonderful thought, to bring the audience to share their thoughts as well. And definitely I liked Don Prue's or Stephan's and Andrew's thoughts. Yeah, mobile beacon, this is something new to me also. So that I learned today. And thank you for sharing that. And at the end, the conclusion is also powerful with your speech. So you gave action to every one of us, and you empowered us to attend TLI meetings, which is a great thing, which is a great conclusion to the meeting also. So one thing which I caught throughout the meeting is, yeah, you said that you read a book about John Maxwell, and you did a good research about that, but I couldn't catch the book name. Like, I like to read books, so even I am also interested in reading that book. So it would have been awesome if you provided the name of the book also along with your speech. Yeah, that is one thing. Other than that, yeah, the vocal variety, the eye contact, gestures, audience engagement, the conclusion, everything is perfect. Over to you, General Evaluator.